Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most high-stakes situations you'll ever face in medicine, the unconscious patient. We're going to build a mental framework, a systematic approach that starts right now.
So picture this. You're in the ER. A patient is rolled in, completely unresponsive. The clock is ticking, and every second counts. This is not some textbook exercise. It's a full-blown clinical crisis. So, where on earth do you even begin? What's your very first move?
Okay, your first big decision. The first fork in the road is this. Are we looking at a structural problem or a metabolic one? Think of it this way. A metabolic issue is like a power outage affecting the whole house. Everything is kind of symmetrically down. You'll see things like floppy limbs on both sides and, really key, pupils that are still normal and reactive. But a structural problem, like a stroke, that's more like a blown fuse in one room. It's focal. You might see weakness on just one side, or pupils that are lopsided. Getting this distinction right from the get-go changes everything about what you do next.
Now, if the signs are pointing toward metabolic, your brain should immediately scream one word: glucose. Why? Because blood sugar problems are incredibly common, they can be lethal, but, and this is the most important part, they are often completely fixable if you're fast enough. So let's break down the three big players in the glucose game. First, you've got hypoglycemia, that's low blood sugar. A good clue here is that the pupillary reflex often stays intact. Then you have the high sugar emergencies. In DKA, the big problem is the buildup of acid from ketones, which leads to that classic deep, rapid breathing called Kussmaul breathing, as the body desperately tries to blow off acid. In HHS, on the other hand, the enemy isn't acid, it's profound dehydration from insanely high sugar levels. HHS can even fool you by looking like a stroke, causing things like seizures or weakness on one side.
And for hypoglycemia, this is the number you need burned into your brain. When that blood glucose level dips below 0.6 millimoles per liter, the brain is literally starved of fuel. It just doesn't have enough energy to stay online. That's not a guideline. It's a hard metabolic cutoff for consciousness.
All right, let's say glucose checks out. What's next on our list? Well, we go back to the absolute basics of life: gases. Is the brain getting the oxygen it needs to function? And is it getting rid of the waste product, carbon dioxide?
So, with hypoxia, you generally lose consciousness when the partial pressure of oxygen falls below 40. One sinister cause is carbon monoxide poisoning, which has a weirdly specific calling card. It can cause necrosis or cell death in a part of the brain called the globus pallidus. And remember, not all parts of the brain are created equal. The higher-level cortex goes first, while the brainstem, which controls basic life functions, is the last to go.
And remember, it's not just about getting oxygen in. You have to get the CO2 out. When carbon dioxide levels climb past 50, it starts to act like a poison, a narcotic. It'll cause a headache, then confusion, and if it keeps rising, it will put the lights out completely, leading to a coma. Okay, so glucose is fine, gases are fine. Where do we look now? It's time to investigate the body's main filter systems. See, when the kidneys or the liver fail, they stop cleaning the blood. All those toxins that are supposed to be removed just build up and essentially start to poison the brain.
First up, the kidneys. When they fail acutely, you get what's called uremic encephalopathy. It's basically a big metabolic mess caused by disordered amino acids. A huge clue here is the EEG, which will show these characteristic slow waves. But here's the good news. This is often reversible with dialysis. It might take a day or two, but you can bring them back.
Now, if it's the liver that's failing, the story is a bit different. Hepatic encephalopathy is mostly driven by toxins like ammonia building up. You might see that classic flapping tremor called asterexis, but the real diagnostic smoking gun is on the EEG. You get these really distinct triphasic slow waves. It's a very specific pattern that just screams the liver is the problem.
But we're not done yet. Our investigation has to go deeper. Beyond the big organs, we have to look at the body's basic chemistry set. The electrolytes and hormones that are absolutely essential for our neurons to fire correctly. If these are out of whack, it can be just as catastrophic.
One of the biggest players here is hyponatremia, or low sodium. When the sodium level in the blood drops below about 126, the physics of osmosis takes over, and water starts to shift from the blood into brain cells, causing them to swell. This is cerebral edema, and because the skull is a fixed box, this swelling is a huge, huge problem that can lead straight to coma.
Now listen up, because this is one of those clinical pearls that you absolutely cannot forget. You have to correct low sodium slowly. If you raise it too fast, you can cause a devastating, irreversible condition called central pontine myelinolysis. You're basically stripping the insulation off the neurons in the brainstem. Think about it. The brain adapted to the low sodium, and if you reverse it too violently, you cause catastrophic damage. Fixing the problem the wrong way is way worse than the problem itself.
Of course, sodium isn't the only troublemaker. High sodium can literally dehydrate brain cells. Big swings in potassium or calcium can mess with nerve signals, and you can't forget about major hormonal problems like a severe low thyroid state or an adrenal crisis in Addison's disease. All of these have to be on your list of suspects.
Whew, okay, we have covered a ton of ground. We've gathered all these clues, so how do we put it all together into a clear, step-by-step plan for when that unconscious patient is right there in front of you?
This is it. This is your playbook. Step 1. Look for those symmetric signs that point you towards a metabolic cause. Step 2. Get a glucose and a blood gas, STAT. These are your fastest and most critical lifesavers. Step 3. Send off the labs to check kidney and liver function. And finally, Step 4. Analyze the electrolytes and consider those hormonal causes to complete the picture. You follow these steps, in this order, every single time.
And this right here, this is why that playbook is so important. This is why we do all this. Because unlike a lot of devastating structural brain injuries, a metabolic coma gives you a chance. It's a crisis that can often be completely turned around, but only if you figure out the underlying cause and fix it.
So that's where we'll leave it. A metabolic coma isn't just a diagnosis, it's a puzzle, and it's a race against the clock. All the clues are there, in the physical exam, in the blood work, in the patient's story. The answer is findable. The only real question is, can you solve the puzzle in time?